Have you ever tried to reach someone you love, only to feel like you're shouting across a canyon? You lean in with openness. They lean out with silence. You crave closeness. They create distance. This isn't just poor communication. It's a collision of nervous systems, each wired to survive in its own way. And if you've ever found yourself chasing connection while slowly losing your sense of self, you may be trapped in the anxious-avoidant loop. It hurts, but you're not alone, and you're not doomed. Let's pull back the curtain on what's really happening. If you're anxiously attached, your body isn't just asking for attention, it's pleading for emotional safety. You text first, you check your phone 10 times. You ask, are we okay? Not because you want control, but because unpredictability feels like danger. You're not needy. You're wired for closeness. But if your partner has an avoidant attachment style, your desire for intimacy might feel like a threat to their nervous system. To them, emotional closeness doesn't equal safety. It equals pressure. Vulnerability feels like losing control. So what do? The only thing their system trusts: withdraw, disconnect, shut down. And then the dance begins. You reach out, hoping they'll reassure you. They back away, hoping you'll give them space. You panic, afraid they're slipping away. They go quiet, overwhelmed by your intensity. The more you pursue, the more they retreat. The more they shut down, the more desperate you become. Until connection feels impossible, and love begins to feel like a battlefield. But here's the truth most people miss. You're not broken, neither are they. You're just living out different emotional survival strategies, shaped long before this relationship ever began. And the way forward isn't about fixing the other person. It's about understanding and regulating your own nervous system first. Because when you're anxiously attached, silence doesn't feel neutral. It feels like abandonment. They don't respond to your text, and suddenly your chest tightens. Your mind races. Did I say too much? Did I push too hard? Are they losing interest? Are they done with me? That spiral doesn't make you irrational. It makes you human. Your nervous system is sounding the alarm. Connection is slipping. Do something. Now. But here's a truth that might shift everything. Their silence isn't always about you. Yes, it feels personal. Yes, it stings. But often, avoidant partners go quiet, not to punish you, but to protect themselves. They grew up in environments where vulnerability wasn't safe, where emotional intensity wasn't modeled, welcomed, or even allowed. So when things get emotionally charged, they default to what they know. Freeze, withdraw, protect. Not because they don't care, but because they don't know what to do with the storm inside them. And this is your turning point. You have to stop treating emotional distance as a direct rejection. Pause before reacting. Breathe before texting. Ask yourself, what else might be true here, besides the fear I'm being abandoned? Because here's the paradox. When your nervous system is dysregulated, you don't communicate. You chase. You send long texts. You over-explain. You beg for reassurance. But the more you chase, the more they feel cornered. And the more they shut down, the more invisible you feel. So what's step one? Regulate yourself first. That's not their job. It's yours. When you get grounded, everything changes. Your tone softens. Your words shift. Your message transforms from pressure to invitation. Instead of saying, why can't you ever talk to me like a normal person? Try this. I feel closest to you when we share what's going on inside. Is now a good time to talk? That shift, from blame to curiosity, can open doors you've been slamming shut for years. But what do you do when they completely shut down? When they go cold, distant, emotionally absent, and your inner voice starts screaming, say something, do something, text again. Here's the brutal truth. Chasing usually makes things worse. It reinforces their fear that intimacy equals pressure, that closeness means being smothered, that your love will demand more than they can give. But giving them space doesn't mean abandoning your own needs. This is where a powerful concept comes in. Regulated distance. It's not silence, it's strategy, it's not punishment, it's presence with boundaries. You might say, I sense you need some space, and I want to respect that. I'll be here when you're ready to talk. That sentence is deceptively simple, but emotionally advanced. It tells them, you're safe. I'm not chasing you, but I'm not leaving either. You don't need to disappear to protect yourself. And here's what might surprise you. Avoidant people do want connection. They just fear they'll be consumed by it. So when you respect their need for space without sacrificing your own worth, you stop being their emotional pursuer and start becoming their emotional partner. That's when the battlefield starts to transform into a bridge. But let's be clear, this shift doesn't happen overnight. You can't read one quote on Instagram and suddenly stop panicking. You can't say one regulated sentence and expect years of shutdown behavior to vanish. Why? Because nervous systems don't respond to logic. They respond to consistency. So if you're anxiously attached, part of your healing means learning how to stay with yourself, even when the other person can't. It's not about pretending you don't care. It's about building the emotional muscles to stay steady in the space between closeness and absence. That might mean journaling instead of triple texting, taking a walk before hitting send, saying to yourself, I am still loved, even if I don't feel reassured right now. That's not cold. That's growth. You're not becoming avoidant. You're becoming anchored. Anchoring means choosing not to react from the wound. It means slowing down the spiral long enough to ask, what would the most secure version of me do right now? Because let's be honest, sometimes the real fear isn't that they'll leave. It's that without their constant validation, you won't know who you are. That's what anxious attachment does. It fuses identity with proximity. It whispers, if they pull away, it must mean something about me. But that's the illusion. Your worth doesn't disappear when they go quiet. Your value isn't measured by how fast they respond. And your emotional safety should never be outsourced to someone who's still learning how to sit with their own. So, what do you say when they're silent for hours or days and you're spiraling? Here's a regulated, self-honoring way to approach it. I notice I start to worry when we go silent for a while. I know we both have different ways of coping with stress, but I'd love to find a rhythm that helps us stay connected. What that sentence does is remarkable. It names your need without blaming theirs. It offers curiosity instead of control. It opens space for collaboration instead of confrontation. And if they can meet you there, beautiful. If they can't, that's data too. Because here's another key truth. Emotionally mature love isn't afraid of discomfort. It doesn't run from repair. It doesn't hide behind silence when things get real. But avoidantly attached people often grew up in households where emotional conversations meant danger, where saying what you feel came with consequences, where the only safe option was say nothing, feel nothing, stay small. So now, as adults, when emotional intensity rises, even when it's from someone they love, they instinctively freeze. Not because they don't care, but because they were never shown how to stay present in those moments. That's why timing matters. Even the most loving truth can sound like an attack if spoken in the middle of someone's shutdown. So instead of pushing through their withdrawal, try this. There's something on my heart I'd love to share. When might be a good time for us to talk? That simple shift, asking for a window instead of demanding a breakthrough, can make all the difference. Here's what it communicates. I respect your nervous system. I'm not here to force. I'm here to invite. I value connection enough to wait for the right moment. And over time, that respect builds something rare. Psychological safety. Safety says, you don't have to hide to survive. You don't have to run to feel free. You don't have to disappear in order to be loved. But let's not sugarcoat this. Creating safety for someone else should never cost you your own. If you find yourself constantly holding the emotional weight of the relationship, initiating every repair, explaining every rupture, regulating both nervous systems, it's time to ask a hard but essential question. Is this dynamic helping me grow? Or is it keeping me small? Because love should stretch you, but it shouldn't break you. It should ask for patience, but not your entire identity. And while attachment patterns can evolve, that evolution must be mutual. You can't build a bridge alone, and you shouldn't have to beg someone to meet you halfway. So, what do you do when nothing seems to work? When they pull away for the 5th time this month? When every conversation ends in shutdown or silence? When you feel like you're constantly auditioning for love? You come back to yourself, because the most powerful thing you can offer, both to them and to yourself, is emotional clarity. Here's what that looks like in practice. Instead of sending a long, anxious text trying to explain your entire emotional history, you breathe. You pause. You write a few words that carry more truth than 1,000 explanations. I care about this relationship. and I also care about my peace. Let's talk when we're both in a space to listen. That kind of message isn't weak, it's strong. It says, I can hold space, but I won't abandon myself. Because here's the paradox. The more grounded you are, the more safety you create. The less you chase, the more room there is for connection. And the moment you stop trying to fix their emotional pattern, you give both of you space to grow. Now, let's get practical. Here are 5 anchoring strategies to use when your nervous system feels hijacked by anxious thoughts. 1. The name it to tame it. Check in. When anxiety spikes, pause and ask, what am I feeling right now? What story is my brain telling me? What else could be true? This interrupts the spiral and gives your prefrontal cortex time to come online. You step out of fear and into curiosity. 2. Use the no-send journal. Write the message you want to send, then don't send it. Instead, ask yourself, if I read this 48 hours from now, would I still feel the same way? Often, what you needed wasn't their response. It was your own release. 3. Engage the body walk, stretch, shake it out. Why? Because anxious attachment lives in the body. It's not just mental, it's biological. Regulation isn't just about thinking different thoughts. It's about moving your energy to complete the stress cycle. 4. Redirect to secure connection. Call a friend who makes you feel grounded. Watch a video that soothes you. Listen to a voice that reminds you you're not alone. When your attachment system is activated, connection doesn't have to come from your partner. You can borrow safety from other secure sources. 5. Repeat this to yourself. My needs are valid. My emotions matter. I can hold myself gently, even when someone else can't. That mantra isn't a bypass. It's a bridge. It takes you from panic to presence, from chasing to clarity, from shrinking to sovereignty. But even with all these tools, there will be moments you're still tempted to overfunction. To explain, fix, smooth things over. And in those moments, you can ask, am I speaking from my truth or trying to manage their reaction? Am I showing up with compassion or betraying myself to keep the peace? Because here's the final truth you deserve to hear. Your emotional maturity doesn't mean tolerating emotional immaturity. You can be compassionate and have boundaries. You can understand their triggers and name your needs. You can offer grace without accepting breadcrumbs. If someone repeatedly shuts down, avoids repair, or refuses to engage in healthy connection, you are not obligated to keep proving you're safe. You are allowed to leave rooms where your emotional presence is ignored. Not as a punishment, but as protection for your nervous system, your self-worth, and your future. Because healing anxious attachment doesn't just mean loving better. It means loving yourself more deeply than your fear of abandonment. It means showing up in relationships as someone who's not afraid of closeness, but no longer defined by it either. And if your partner is willing to meet you in that healing space, that's beautiful. But even if they don't, you've already broken the cycle. You've stopped chasing. You've stopped shrinking. You've started standing in your truth with steadiness, not desperation. And that, in the end, is the foundation for everything. A relationship where your love is not a burden, where your voice is not too much, where your presence is not a threat, but a gift.
For more videos on emotional connection, healing attachment wounds, and building healthier relationships, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Thanks for watching. And remember, your voice matters, your feelings are valid, and real connection is possible. Take care of your heart, and we'll see you in the next one.